Aloha, namaste. This is Alexis Cox with Radha Home Yoga, and I'm here to bring you the new moon forecast for this Tuesday, March 24th. It's going to be at 2:28 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So really our dark moon will be on Monday night. And this is happening in sidereal Pisces, and right in the middle of Pisces in the star Uttara Bhadrapada. Uttara Bhadrapada is part of a pair. It's the later blessed result, and it shows that we are going further into a journey of awakening. The first star before it, Purva Bhadrapada, is where we have that initial insight, that initial flash of awakening, where it's like, oh, I'm having this human experience with all these trials and tribulations, but I'm actually part of spirit and a spiritual being having a human experience, which is a phrase that you've probably heard in some way. That's the flash of insight we have in Purva Bhadrapada, that we are more than just this reality of ourselves walking around in these bodies, going to these jobs, and engaging with people in this way or that way, that we have this cosmic exchange. And then in Uttara Bhadrapada, we need to go further. We need to dive deep into our subconscious, into the depths of ourselves, face our shadows, do that extra leg of work, which really more than anything is a surrender. It's a letting go. It's an allowing. And Uttara Bhadrapada is ruled by another one of the Naga, who's called, the first nakshatra, Purva Bhadrapada, is ruled by Eka Ajapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada is ruled by Ahirbudnya. And this is a water snake or a water dragon, and it's showing that the element of water allows us to really let go, really surrender in, and allow the emotional state, the mental state, and all of those things to merge in such a way where we're able to allow that subconscious to just surface and become united and folded into who we are. Because when we're suppressing it and we're keeping these parts of ourselves in compartments and we're not allowing it all to be one, then we're not even one with ourselves. We're not even merging with our own self, let alone with our friends and neighbors and family members, let alone with the rest of the world, let alone with all that is. It's impossible to merge in a true state of oneness when we still have all these places where we're separate. And of course, the bigger merging that would occur with all people, with all beings, is pretty high and pretty hard to reach. But we can achieve on a personal level a place of acceptance for all the parts of ourselves, and a place of surrender that we have those parts, and that we may have to dig down deep, and there may be poison that comes up before the bliss, before the soma. But that's okay, and we're going to be okay through that poison, through seeing our darkest parts, through allowing those parts to reintegrate in with the rest of us. We will be okay, and we will make it through to the next stage of that, and the next stage, and the next stage. So having that lightning flash of insight is like the spark that says, hey, there's a different journey here than the one that we've been on. And in this star, we start to have that later blessed result, which comes from the effort of being effortless, the energy and the work going into surrendering and allowing and rebirthing who we are in a way that is more integrated and more whole and more accepting of our shadow and our darkest parts. And then we can move into that final nakshatra, that final star of Pisces, which is the final star of the entire zodiac, and that is Revati, where we walk each other home, where we can start to find that sameness and that oneness and that connectivity with one another. So this is an interesting time for this new moon, because we are, of course, in the midst of a global pandemic and a global, really a situation where everyone on Earth is connected in a way through this through this COVID-19, through this coronavirus, we're all connected because we're all dealing with the same problem. We've seen earthquakes and tsunamis and volcanoes and hurricanes affect regions before. We've seen, terrorism or warfare affect maybe multiple regions. We've seen lots of times when there's been a place that needs our help as a global community. But this is the first time we have seen all of us needing help in a way, and all of us needing to help. And the playing field sort of becoming leveled in that way. Mother Earth, of course, nature is been fighting this battle for a long time. There's a global issue that we've all had collectively that we've shared for many, many, many years, but some people ignore it, some people are aware of it, some people do a lot and put a lot of energy into conserving the earth and the resources, other people don't. So it hasn't brought us together, because the awareness that it short lives our time here as a human race was not imminent enough. Whereas a virus that's going to kill everyone is very imminent, and everybody is very aware of their own mortality right now. And the fact that that it takes something like this, that it takes us to see our mortality being so potentially soon, or that of our loved ones. Maybe you're less concerned about actually getting this virus because you're healthy and you're young, but maybe you're more concerned about your parents or elderly relatives. Whatever the take is on it for you, a lot of people, maybe their fear is really just more about what this means for our future going forward. Are our lives going to be forever changed? Are we going to have new laws, new rules, new totalitarian government? Are all small businesses going to ever recover? Will we as humans recover financially? So there's all different ways in which the fear might be grabbing you, whether you're afraid of actually catching this virus, or whether you're afraid of the future of how we might be moving forward. But the fear is real, and it's legitimate. It's a legitimate time to be afraid, because there's a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of factors and things that we really don't have the answer to, and no one has the answer. So listening to an expert might soothe somebody's soul, but the truth is that that expert isn't really an expert in this, because they can't be, because it hasn't happened before. So their expertise might be in something similar, some little part of this. Maybe they are an expert in viruses, but then they have no awareness whatsoever of social ramifications or government or finances or anything like that, and they don't even know this specific virus. Maybe they're an expert in economy and social dynamics and things like this, but they don't have any awareness of viruses and this kind of thing. So there's everyone's little bit of expertise they might have is limited, and we're all just working with conjecture at this point, and a lot of hope that that the governments will come through in the ways they need to, but also that they're going to step back and give us back our freedom when this ends, and that this will end, that there will be an end to all this. Saturn being in the sign of Capricorn is definitely bringing up that fear and bringing up a sense of real awareness of time, awareness of the crucialness of how much time we have to live, how much time we have to act, how much time we have to accomplish this, and this. Those kind of awarenesses, which are very mature, they're very adult, because Saturn's in his own sign in Capricorn. So we have this capacity to access that intelligence within us that knows there is a limited amount of time, quite frankly, for each of us to even survive on this earth at all. The people who are older are always aware of that. They're always aware that their time is coming to an end at some point, because they're close to it. It's for sure. We're all going to die. None of us will not die. Some might be farther from that than others, but that awareness, that action that comes from that awareness, and that humility that comes from that awareness is really a lot of what Saturn is sharing with us right now. And what happened is yesterday on the 22nd, I'm filming this right now on the, today is the 22nd, but really early in the wee hours between the 21st and the 22nd, we saw Mars move into Capricorn as well. And Mars and Saturn generally have a pretty tumultuous relationship. The two planets, when they come together, we see some cataclysmic stuff happen usually. There's been many different examples over the past few years, seeing these come together and just watching events unfold in personal lives and on a global scale that is explosive, because Saturn is that energy of fear. It's that energy of sort of frozen in place. And Mars is that energy of anger and that energy of just blowing up stuff and, fire and fighting. And so when the two come together, you see this, this fire and ice explosion that can occur. But this is the first time we've seen them come together in Capricorn. And the thing about this is that Capricorn is, again, Saturn's ruler. So Saturn's very intelligent here. And then Mars is exalted in Capricorn. This is where Mars does its best. And the reason is because Mars is fiery and is sort of the part of us that can get angry. But in Capricorn, there's a clear path, a clear goal in mind. It's like, this is what my objective is. This is my long-term goal. It's responsible for all these different reasons. This is the responsible way that I came to this conclusion. And Mars is able to just go in there and use courageous, direct action to get those things done. Like, okay, you put this block here, you put this block here, and this block here, and then, eventually you have your house. So the energy is being channeled. It has somewhere to go, and it's productive, and it's long-term, and it's of the earth, of the physical plane. So it's physical activity, which is something Mars really needs to fuel it. When you see Mars in air signs, you see a lot of verbal fighting, mental exhaustion. That's not as helpful. So really having that physical outlet. And there's an actual goal, a responsible ends that is practical and necessary, and that's helping us, not stop time, but helping us work within time, work within the framework that time offers us. And so you see that Mars is doing a really good job here. And in this case, Saturn is more welcoming to Mars because it really needs a good workhorse like that. It needs someone who's just coming in and doing the work and laying the bricks. And so we see more friendliness than would otherwise exist. We see both planets in really strong dignity, and we see a potential for action, real live action to take place, which is great because that's what we need right now. But the issue to think of is that Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And while there is practical, responsible action that comes out of wherever Capricorn is, there's also constriction and fear that's fueling it. And that constriction and fear is going to be what leads the action. The action will not be coming from a high enlightened place. And the reason this is especially true is because not only is Mars just moved in as of this morning, but Jupiter, our planet of wisdom, our planet of higher beliefs, our planet of what literally inspires us to do what we do, is going to be moving into Capricorn later on this week on the 29th. And we're going to see that all those beliefs and ideals and things that help inspire us to act in our, highest selves and to follow right teachings and to, know when something is just and not just, and know what laws are just and not just, because for sure Jupiter also rules over the realm of law. And not so much order, not so much the police militants part of it is more Mars, but when you see, the justice, the courtrooms and justice and judges and laws coming out, it can have a lot to do with Jupiter. And you see this moving into Capricorn too. And just like Mars is exalted in Capricorn, well, Jupiter is debilitated. So we see that there's a lot of potential for that fear and that constriction and that awareness of time and all of that fury that's going to help Mars and Saturn be proactive is going to squash our sense of wisdom and our sense of higher beliefs and our sense of what's possible, that expansive potential that we have and that capacity to be bringers of deep light and truth that is going to be very dimmed and very constricted and very much focused on that same goal that Capricorn has for us. And it's going to be about, saving money, conserving resources, getting us to the ends of this, preserving life, literally extending time. Like, that will be the goal of Jupiter, as opposed to truth or, really being in tune with wisdom and our higher beliefs and ideals. Of course, if you have a stronger Jupiter in your chart, it's going to be less easy to just your strong belief system is not going to be eradicated, but you might be operating from more of a fearful belief system than you usually do. You might be more able to subscribe into the fear than you might normally. If you already have a debilitated or challenged Jupiter, it's going to be like, finally, the world is seeing things my way, You'll feel more at home. Quite frankly, whenever a planet is somewhere that we have it natally, we feel at home with that, even if it's not intelligent, even if it's energy that's not wise and not great. It feels safe and comfortable to us because it's what we're used to. So if we already have a constrictive view of of the world, and we already have a less expansive philosophy, and we tend to think out of places of fear, and what inspires us is contraction, and really it can be a little bit of greed too, because Jupiter can be where we're very generous and very magnanimous. And when it's in Capricorn, it becomes a little more penny pinching, because it's like, oh, but we only have this much money, and then we're going to run out of money, and then we only have this much time, and we all become these sort of, old frugal uncles, and telling everyone what to do, and feeling this sort of this really, fear-based and perhaps very safe and very, maybe even based in reality, but not expansive, not hopeful, not inspiring. So that's something to look out for. We do have, right now the sun and moon are in Pisces, but we are going to see the sun move into Aries in a few weeks, and that's where the sun is exalted. So our sense of higher consciousness and our direct connection to what we, to our true self, the part of us that is, that we were talking about at the beginning, where we're not this body, we're not these lives, we're not these sort of, not even these laws, not even these beliefs, not even those things of Jupiter, but ultimately we're these higher conscious beings. That part will be exalted, so that's going to be helpful. And also, right now, Venus has been in Aries, and we've seen that our sense of relating to others has come from a little bit more of a selfish place, especially because in Aries, it's not just selfish, but it's sort of like, go, like, this is what I need, I'm going to go for it, and not a lot of awareness as to who's being affected on either side. So we can see that as Venus moves into Taurus, into her own sign, we'll become a little bit more friendly and helpful, and wanting to get along, wanting to share a little bit more, because Taurus also goes after what they need and want. There's a direct forward movement, and a part of us that has food and shelter and comfort needs that are going to get met in Taurus. But the difference is there's a lot more awareness on working together and harmony, and everything feeling nice and moving a little slower, where you have time to notice if there's someone else there, and how can my needs be met and your needs also be met, and how can we both be happy and feel good, and things like that. So that will be a very positive shift for us, as both the sun moves into Aries and Venus moves into Taurus. They'll be moving into really positive dignity, and we'll actually have a lot of our planets in very positive dignity, with Mars being exalted, with Saturn being in Capricorn in its own sign, with Venus being in her own sign of Taurus, and with the sun also being exalted. We'll see a lot of potential for working together and getting things done, and hopefully finding our way out of some of these what ifs that we're entrapped in right now. But we do have to sort of be aware that the driving inspiration is going to be greatly constricted, and not as inspirational, and also not as connected to true teachings as we might normally be, even if you are pretty connected to begin with. So that's just kind of some things to think about right now. There's a lot going on for all of us. more than anything, more than ever, we really need our practices. We need to drop in every day, because otherwise we'll get caught up in it all. We'll get caught up in the rush of social media, or if you have a TV and you watch that, you're constantly being inundated with this cycle. I mean, the way the TV works is just a cycle of news to feed into your brain. So I really recommend turning that off and turning off things that come at you. When you go online, you have a little bit more choice in the matter. You can kind of choose what to go to. But even that, really limiting your Facebook feed is definitely something that can just inundate you with different opinions and memes and facts and details and all this different stuff that can get very emotional. So it's good to stay connected. It's good to, have these resources so that we don't feel totally isolated, but it's also really important to take that time for yourself to just tune in, check in with yourself, preferably first thing in the morning, right before you go to bed. Clear your mind. Allow yourself to be coming from a place where you're constantly recalibrating with what you know to be true, recalibrating with your own self, and really finding that that unity, that that connectivity with yourself first and foremost, because you're really never going to ever be able to find it outside of yourself if it's not there. We're never going to, as a world, find it if individuals can't find it for themselves. So that's really where we're at right now. And I am going to start offering yoga videos. So if you are already signed up for my newsletter and you receive one of those emails that says, please take this, quick, less than a minute survey, you can just check what things you want to receive. Because if you just want to receive astrology, awesome, that's all I want to send you. If you want to receive yoga videos also, then you can check that and say that you want to that you also want to receive some of that. If you are new signing up, just go ahead and check that you do want yoga, and you'll get those videos sent to your inbox too. I hope you all do well right now and take care of each other, take care of those around you, check in on people who might be alone or not have the resources to get through this, whether that be physical, whether that be financial, whether that be spiritual. We all have different challenges here. We all have different things going for us and different strengths that we have harnessed for this moment, and we all have things that might be more challenging. So the more we can love each other and help each other out, the better we will get through this. And I hope you have a good and meditative new moon, and I'll see you soon. Namaste.